Welcome in to the week 25 devlog for 2026 for Slammer, a FPS battle royale that I'm making solo in Unreal Engine 5. Just like last week, the threat of having to record this devlog really lit a fire under me and I got a ton done. So let's get right into it. This week was all about stances, more specifically crouch, prone, and the downed stance. Unfortunately for me, stances mean animation work, and that is definitely my least favorite part of game development, especially when we're making this game solo and on a shoestring budget. A lot of the animations are going to be placeholder for some time, so I know that the prone animations look like the character's back is broken, but we're just going to move past that because me spending weeks perfecting the prone animations is not what's going to move this game forward. The first stance I worked on this week was crouch, and as you saw at the end of the devlog last week, I almost had that working, but there was a bug with it. Now that I fixed that bug this week, things are looking pretty good. Crouch is definitely the easiest stance to implement because Unreal gives you that out of the box. It's actually already implemented on the default character movement component and just requires turning some things on and setting up the animations, which you all know I love doing. I can't say the same for the next stance I worked on, which was prone. Prone is a bit tricky in Unreal and in game development in general because the animations are so much different than the other stances like crouch, standing, or sprinting. In fact, to make it so that the character appears that they are actually looking forward and ready to shoot their weapon, I had to drastically edit the animations for the prone animation pack that I have. As you can see here, doing the actual editing isn't that bad at all. All you have to do is rotate the various bones on the skeleton, add a keyframe, and we're done. The part that was difficult was I had to go into my animation blueprint and change the point where the upper body and the lower body animations blend in order to get the prone animations to look good. Changing that blend point for the upper body and lower body animations revealed that all the other lower body animations I had also had issues with the character appearing like they are facing forward. That had been masked because the blend point was lower down the spine tree, so the upper body animation, which I made myself, is taking over and showing that the character is looking forward. But now that the lower body animations are more involved, I had to do similar to what I did with the prone animations and go into every single one and fix them to make it look like the character was actually looking forward. And after a few tedious long nights of playing around with these animations, I finally reached a point where I'm happy with what I'm seeing. Again, I can't expect these animations to look as good as something like Call of Duty because they obviously have an entire animation team working on them, and I am just one guy who barely knows how to animate to save his soul. But looking at these, you can tell that the character is in the prone, crouch, or standing stance and what direction they're facing. So functionally, they're good enough for what we need in our Battle Royale. Speaking of that eventual Battle Royale, another critical stance that we need to implement is the downed stance. So for those of you not familiar, this is when you take enough damage to make your health go to 0, but you do have teammates still up who can revive you. So from there, you go into what's called the down stance, where you're just sort of helplessly crawling around, bleeding out until you fully die. This took a bit of muscle on the engineering side to implement because your health pool when you're down works very differently from your health pool when you're in your standard alive state, because the damage actually ticks down your health just by sitting there to simulate the bleeding out effect. And then you can also take damage as you normally would from weapons from other players. This meant that the health bar and squad mates widget needed a complete rework to reflect the down state to the person who is downed and their teammates. Luckily for me, though, this did not require any animation work at all because my initial prone animations were perfect for this right from the pack. Because if you remember, for the prone animations, I had to rotate the spine so it looked like the player's back was broken, so it looked like they were looking up and ready to shoot their weapon. But when you're in the down state, your weapon is invisible as well as your arms. So all I had to do was blend the initial out-of-the-box prone animation where the character's face is on the ground with that same animation, and I ended up with this result where the character does look helpless and like they're crawling on the ground, which is exactly what we're going for. And speaking of this result of the down state, you can see that the squad mates widget is not responding to damage that the player is taking from other players. So this is already logged as a bug, and I'll get right to it when we start Sprint 26 after I'm done recording this video. And speaking of Sprint 26, if you made it this far into the video, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for next week's devlog. I've truly been making a ton of progress towards that Test Drive 2 milestone, and I'm hoping that I'm going to blow my initial scheduling for it out of the water. So definitely stick around for that journey and make sure that you're in the loop when Test Drive 2 does finally drop. And also remember that Test Drive 1, which is the gameplay you've been seeing in the background throughout this video, is live on Steam right now. So sign up for the playtest, hop in with up to 3 friends, and have some fun shooting some bots, letting me know what you think about the game so far. It's really important that I build this game with the community hand in hand so that it ends up being as good as it possibly can be. And speaking of that, definitely like the video and leave a comment if you want to say hi or have any suggestions. It really helps out a small channel like mine getting those likes and comments, so if you feel so inclined, I would really appreciate it. But with all that being said, I've been Steve. Thank you so much as always for watching, and I will see you next week.